Hello and welcome to Platos Cave, coming to you from Australia. The land down under for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's right. You heard it here first. Revolution Radio. That's where it's at. That's where you have your potatoes. That's where you fry up your kippers. Your kippers and potatoes. Home to ideas, fresh. But more importantly, this is Listener Funded Radio. So if you can, please do donate, that is, to the station, because we need your money. We want you as well, but your money helps. Any kind of currency is good, including crypto, gold, silver, bullion. Yes, Krugerrand. Why not? And but maybe you can't. Maybe you can't donate because times are tough all over. They're getting tougher, and I know they do. And they trust me on that one. Then tell people about the station. Just tell them. It's all good. You know. Today is the 18th of March, 2025, the 18th of March. It means we are a quarter into the year. Yeah, I know, right? What?
Where did it go?
Good question. Catch the cave on the air, on the line, all the time, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio in the comfort of your own surroundings. But you know what? Another good reason to donate is because the archives are free. So you can go in there and listen to all the content you like. Knock yourself out. Where do you get free stuff these days? Seriously, nowhere. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, and there's a bit to get through today, I guess, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. For Mr. Danger,
it is the Dark and Jung.
Thank you, sir. For myself, of course, it's the Rock people, and we'd like to pay our respects to elders. Past, present, and future, as you do. I tell you what, Dave. It's a little crazy. Again, of course, still maybe. I think the word is still, Dave.
Still, yeah.
I think the word is still, not again, or it's still. I think that's not this level of crazy we just decided we'll have. Putin is stalling on the ceasefire because we got to work out all the details, because all the T's and dot all the I's before we can do anything. Okay.
That's right. Gaza's finished.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, look, I get the Russian point that Ukraine shouldn't be part of NATO. I understand that. I really do understand it, right? However, I also understand why the Ukrainians want to be part of NATO, because they've been screwed over by Mr. Putin a number of times. So it's a bit of it's a bit like the Middle East. It's like an impossible situation. And speaking of the Middle East, there's no way Netanyahu is ever going to agree to any kind of peace. He needs it. He needs this war just to stay in power, in politics. Okay? He needs it as he needs the air to breathe. He doesn't care if people get killed. I mean...
You think that's air you're breathing?
There is no spoon. And look, but that's really where we are. And it's a terrible situation. And what I find, what I find amazing though, Dave, the piece of information, like the piece of news that I found the most astounding, is that America wants to close down the Voice of America. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Voice of America was established after World War II to, well, actually before that, to be honest with you. It's similar to the British BBC. They were broadcasting into Nazi Germany. But it really gained momentum after the war as a bulwark against communism, etc. So it was like, a Radio Free America. The Voice of America, the Radio of the Free World, the Voice of the Free World. It's got lots of different names, but this officially was the Voice of America, and it's been broadcasting for over 80 years, right? And then now, because it is run by radicals and leftists, okay, it's gonna be shut down. And there's hundreds, literally, like the BBC World Service, like there's hundreds of millions of people listening to Voice of America. Now, it's a really interesting situation, and I'll tell you why. For the longest time, America wanted to get as many people in its camp as possible, right? like, we have to grow our allies. We want to, show support across the world. And then Donald Trump is going to do. He's doing all the opposite things to that now, right? I mean, okay, that's fair enough. If that's what you want to do, but at the same time, so this is, and Dave, maybe you can help me. I'll throw it to you when I've asked my question. Look, it's a schizophrenic situation, in my opinion. If somebody, maybe in the chat room, oops, I better get in there. If somebody in the chat room can explain to me why this is happening the way it is, that'd be great too. But this is the way I see it. Donald Trump wants America to be self-sufficient. He doesn't like global trade anymore unless America wins, which is not possible in every deal. You can't always come out on top. Ideally,
at
everybody
least either two parties benefit or only one.
Yeah, but ideally, you all want to walk away with something gained. I mean, that's the idea of trade, really, right? I mean, that's not too much to ask. Okay, all right. So, but at the same time, as he's trying to, and I understand bringing back manufacturing, I believe in all of that. I believe that manufacturing should be brought back to the countries. It would be good for everybody. And of course, in the chat room, happy St. Patrick's Day for Monday, everybody, which was for us was yesterday. Happy St. Patty's Day, Fleddy. It's a truism to say that it's arguably America has been like this for most of its existence. It's been autonomous. It's been self-sufficient. It's been a trading nation. Didn't really start to become a military power until really after World War II, and that's all good. But you can't withdraw from the world stage and still want to play a part in world affairs unless you do a 180. And what I mean by that is this. So on the one side, you've got Donald Trump trying to build up America. No issue with that. Many other countries should be following suit. Australia should be following suit. Japan is doing it. Japan, they're not stupid. They're doing exactly. They've been doing anyway. So he wants to build up America, but he wants to do it while sort of withdrawing from all international treaties that in his mind are bad for America. Whatever, the UN, the climate treaty, a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. No, thank you very much. At the same time, he's also dismantling all the American institutions that give America a presence overseas. Not military institutions, not military organizations, but for aid organizations, radio, the Voice of America is a great example. Organizations like that are sort of, you can call them propaganda organizations, which spread the American word, if you will, right? But at the same time as he's doing all of that, and this is where the schizophrenic bit comes in, he still wants to be the person in the world that makes all the decision trees. He wants to be the person that says what goes. And you can't have it both ways. You can't want to do Plaza Gaza, Trump Gaza. Welcome to the new luxury resort at the Eastern Mediterranean. You want to get the Panama Canal back. You want to get Canada and Greenland as part of the United States. You want to maintain supremacy. You're bombing the Hutus. Okay, you're bombing Syria. And a whole bunch of stuff. Now, from an American foreign policy perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense because you're really doing Saudi Arabia's bidding now. Saudi Arabia and Israel. Funnily enough, they're aligned here. Saudi Arabia and Israel aligned in what America is doing to the Hutus in Yemen, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, so there's this disconnect. He wants to be that, but he also wants to be this. So Dave, again, I'm throwing it to you. In my opinion, he wants to eat. He wants to have his cake, and he wants to eat it also.
Look, I'm seeing this everywhere, though. I don't think it's isolated. It is almost like we're seeing I'm being honest, the rise of, you've said this before, but kings or
yeah, Empires are coming back.
Yeah, empires, the rise of empires. I see this happening. I mean, am I wrong to say that? I
No.
can't be wrong because it's my. You're right, Maggie, but it's my own view.
Well, yeah.
This is what I'm seeing happen.
But even from the point of view of an outsider or let's say a neutral person, what the view you've just expressed, that you're seeing the rise of empires, I think that is absolutely correct. Or not so much the rise of empires, but what you're seeing is the what's the best word? The want for empires to rise. I want to be an empire. I want to be an empire. Come on. So you're right, brother. You're right.
Yeah. Well, what's the net effect of having those empires? That's my next question. Yes, we're seeing it, but what does it mean?
Channel Kent Brockman. Just channel Kent Brockman. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Democracy just doesn't work.
That's really funny. Yeah.
That's probably the best prediction Simpsons made ever.
So that and heavy sack beatings are up. Gun violence is down, but heavy sack beatings is up. What's your point, Ken? Right? Your point being, yeah, it's hilarious.
Touche.
So I've got this is on a light note here, but I've been watching some Simpsons, which I haven't seen for a long time, and I've got a bit of a time available to me. Like I wish I didn't have the time available to me. I wish I was working and earning, but things are what they are. So there was a new Ralphie quote, and he says, "I licked a power outlet and woke up on a helicopter."
Oh, that's like old school. I love it.
Yeah. And then, of course, when I was telling some friends of mine about that quote, they go, "Oh yeah, I was electrocuted once," and I said, "So was I." Right? And they said, "Oh, I woke up, blood or whatever it is," and I said, I was thrown across a garage and woke up on the floor. This is my friend goes, "Put this in the PowerPoint," and I did, and I was really young, right? And yeah, I'd look good on you, Ralphie.
Good on you. Good on you.
That's all I can say, because look, if the world is trending the way it is, with what looks like, for all intents and purposes, looks like it is, and it is this empire. Well, what greater empire is above the empires? And look, I'm not going to say it again, apart from just 3 letters, WEF. And I think this great managed decline is intentional. They're not just power prices are going up, but grocery prices. All the big grocery outlets have all gone, "Oh, all the prices are going up, probably 20 or 30%. You what? When you decided this and you're all in agreement, that's collusion.
Yeah, it's called profiteering.
But Nostradamus, Becky, it's like there's some old dude in a candle-lit dark room wearing a full hoodie, in the olden days probably made of hemp, right? Sitting there in this candlelight writing all these quatrains. For each one, and each one of these major outlets has their own little Nostradamus in there writing this, because how let's predict for a minute. How could they all have exactly the same wording? Oh no, the grocery is definitely going to go up. Well, we already know they're going to go up, but how can you quote a percentage? How can you do that? unless it's all intentional, and this is my call, Mickey, you don't have to agree, but that the basis for all of this is a managed decline to equalize everybody. The great equalization is what I used to call it pre-2019. But now I see this as they're actually doing the plot. This is the plot.
Yeah.
They're doing the script. This is what's happening to the planet.
Yeah.
And they're doing it intentionally to bring us all down to a base level where we'll beg for an amount of change which they're going to pull out of, I was going to say something rude, they're going to pluck it out of a bag and go, here, look, it's the advertising mantra. Create a problem and then create the fix for it. Sell the fix.
That's it. And it is so blatant now, to be honest, it's almost painful to watch. And I'm actually worried, because what I saw today in my neck of the woods, I'm probably smack bang in the geographical center of Sydney, between the Blue Mountains and the coast. I'm right where Prospect Reservoir is. Like, it literally is smack bang. And I saw a lot of military helicopters today flying.
They're doing maneuvers for the next month. Yeah,
flying west, but a lot, right? And I'm just thinking, look, things can go. I mean, everybody's talking about. I mean, this is the thing, right? Donald Trump said to Zelensky, "You're playing with World War III." I don't think so. I don't think Zelensky is doing anything of the kind. He was just sitting there drinking his coffee when the Russians invaded. Okay. The only thing that Zelensky didn't do right in the Russians' eyes and in Trump's eyes, I guess, he didn't just lie down. That's right. That's the problem. He didn't just lie down, and that's where I find it interesting as well. And to my earlier point and to what you just outlined. So Trump has gone 180, and I've looked at a lot of posts at a lot of different sites. I went to the veterans site in the United States. There's actually like a Veterans Affairs kind of thing, right? And there's like tens of thousands of veterans posting, and there's these videos as well playing, especially in the Oval Office between Zelensky and Trump, and a lot of comments. There's like literally thousands of comments, and a lot of comments read, "Veteran here, we stand with the Ukraine. What's happening with the administration is a disgrace, et cetera, et cetera." So these are the opinions of the veterans. Of course, the money is also being cut out of the veterans, right? The funding, etc. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening in that space, which is not good for the veterans. So, and in my opinion, and I'm here with Heinlein. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book he wrote called Starship Troopers.
Oh, I love Starship Troopers.
Yeah, but very different to the movie, Dave. The book is very different to the movie.
Well, they had to condense it into 90 minutes, you know what I'm
saying?
No,
there was no condensing. It's not condensed. It's a completely different story. The only thing that remains the same is the name of the protagonist, as well as and this is important, I guess, also the ethos or the idea that if you're a soldier or a veteran,
you serve and you become a citizen.
Correct. Right, and that's essentially the premise of the book as well. You serve and you become a citizen, which means once you're a citizen, you can run for public office. You're allowed to vote. I mean, if you haven't served, you can still live, but you can't run for public office, and you also can't vote for public office. Now, I think that's not a bad idea. But my point here is this: there are these people, that have fought in wars. It doesn't matter if the war was legitimate or if the war was like a made-up lie. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because these people put their lives on the line. They didn't know any better, right? So they followed the call of the country and off they went, and they suffered accordingly. And now they're just discarded. Now, but the thing is this: Trump has now gone, alienated all of his friends, and I mean, like all of them. There's not anyone left. Even we, Dave, placid old Australia, is now upset. We're upset. Not so much with the aluminium and steel stuff. That's like 5% of our trade. We don't really care.
It's
Canada cares. We don't care. Yes, it's tiny.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. What we are worried about is the impact of the other tariffs on other countries, especially China. That's that would be a real impact to us. Impact rather. Sorry, and so even and the Europeans, they're getting together, doing their own thing. The Canadians are looking elsewhere.
That's right.
Everybody is looking elsewhere. And look, in no world that I can imagine that comes out of this one is Canada going to be part of the United States. Okay?
Not willingly.
No, unless they're boots on the ground and the Americans actually invade.
See, now you're talking.
Which, see, but the thing is this. This is what he said about Greenland. Oh, but they're going to be ours one way or another. And the Greenlandians, the Greenlanders, have no desire, from what I can see. Right? There's like 50,000 people there, but they have no desire to be part of either Denmark or the United States, really.
That's true. Yeah, I watched the history the other day of them, and it's come and gone. And then they wanted to sell the base, the military base, and then China wanted to buy it, so they took it off the market. And then America said, "Well, we'll establish a base again." And well, it is only for minerals.
No.
And rights and shipping. Yeah.
If you look at the world map, it's actually extremely strategically important.
It is
because it connects via the North Pole. It connects Asia and America, right? And this is the way, kind of, sort of, where you go. If you don't necessarily want to go across the Bering Strait. So it is quite important in many ways. And it's a massive piece of land with a lot of natural resources, like you said. But Trump has, and now he's completely ignoring the courts as well, which I find astounding, right? And nothing he can do, but remember, right, nothing he can do as president he can be indicted for. Remember the Supreme Court ruling?
Yeah, great one.
Nothing he does. And now he wants to revoke the pardons that Biden gave.
Oh, because they were done with the auto pen.
The auto pen has been used by every president for the last 50 years.
Not for pardons, and can only be used. Only can be used if you're absent.
No,
no. This is only for pardons I'm talking about.
No, I hear you.
Yep.
But that's not true. Every president in the past 50 years has been using auto pen, including pardons for all kinds of things.
Oh no! So, I saw a history of auto pen use and pardons, and apparently it was extremely simple. A lot for everything else, absolutely. But the legislation says that they should be done in person with what's called wet ink or something, wet pen.
Yeah, actually, I'd like you to send that to me because I don't think that's true. But either way, it's unprecedented, which also means that his pardons could be potentially.
It would take a court to test it. Yeah.
So this is interesting. Now, what really has upset people, though, is his pardoning of the Gen 6 people. Right?
That's right, because they destroyed all the evidence.
Well, not only that, these are actually criminals that are doing criminal things. That's the thing, right? And what Trump wants, he wants the pardon.
No, I mean the committee. They pardoned the Jan 6 committee that collected all the information and then went about destroying it all so no one could ever evaluate it ever again. Upon conclusion. It should not have happened. No one should have destroyed it. It should have just gone into a box and stored somewhere.
It's, that ship has sailed, their pardon, right? So, but what Trump now also wants is that the pardon will also extend to any other criminal activities these guys might have, or girls might have undertaken. Which you think, okay, that's now maybe many bridges too far. All I can say is I don't see a way out of this for the United States in any peaceful kind of fashion. I don't think there's any way this will end well. In any way. I can't see it. I'm really worried about what's going to happen in the United States going forward. Like I said, there is no good resolution to this situation. at all. So I'm really curious what the final outcome in 4 years' time is going to be. All right?
Well,
Because
as it played out in Red Dwarf in one of its episodes, there's a poster on the wall that says, "Turn in your friends and family. Great prizes to be won."
yeah, maybe that's what it's going to be, brother. Maybe that's what it's going to be. Would I be astounded? Not really. I wouldn't be astounded. But it certainly is something that it's a worry. Yeah. Because whatever happens in the States, there's still an impact on the rest of the world. There is. And you can twist and turn and not like it, and and whatever. But the truth is, what happens in the States still matters to the rest of the world. And people are taking their cue from what's happening, right? Corporations are taking their cue. Diversity programs are, being cancelled. There's this a reawakening of, I guess, the national ethos as well, which is, again, this is like a throwback to the 19th century, right? So it's like the last 100 years didn't really happen. Not having empires was just a blip, right? It was just a blip, and now we're gonna get thank goodness we. By George, it's about time we get the empire back and up and running.
It feels like I was on my BMX and I went over a jump, and it doesn't matter. All that stuff underneath me, I didn't even feel it. So I'm not sure, Maggie, because the DEI thing is really bizarre. How it's now been kind of dismissed, by proclamation, let's call it, to make the theme of tonight's show. Well, there's some states that have said, we're not doing any of that. We're going to actively disobey. What's that called in political terms? They're active resistance or something, whatever it is. So they're actively resisting the signature on the presidential order. And of course that isn't right. But if they feel so strongly, then good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. If the presidential order turns into a law, because that's what some of them are doing, then I can't see you surviving that change very well. You could secede from the United States as a state, but imagine having to get goods to your place if you're landlocked, right?
I think, I've got
to run the scenario. I can't help myself.
Yeah. I can't see many of the, I guess, Midwestern states seceding. I don't think that's necessarily on the cards, but I think secession is a definite possibility. If it all depends how much further this actually goes, right? It all depends on how much more is going to happen and how the people will like it or not like it, right? As it were. I mean, the thing is this is really, really quite straightforward. If none of the executive orders or other changes have affected you in any way, then you don't care. Mm-hmm. And you think, yeah, all is hunky-dory, what are we talking about? Everything is good. Look at it, he's doing all the right things. If they have affected you, right, and more people are being affected, it's just a numbers game, right? Then you realize that, maybe this is not as great as I thought it would be, right? It's like buyer's remorse. Sorry?
Sounds like Brexit.
Well, this is the thing.
The people, they put it to the vote for the people, and the people said we should exit the EU in Britain. And the government went, why did we ask them?
What do they know, right?
So now we have to do it. And they did it. And there is a mixed bag of how tied they were to the EU and how unraveling it was and how it disrupted what they thought they could just re-establish. Didn't kind of work. Now this is the last 4 years in particular took like a left turn, and how hard do you have to reef on the wheel, driving example here, to get it back to straight again? Or does the car just spin? Do you know what I mean?
So, 100%.
Yeah, this is, to your point, Mackie, this is how much change can be done with the least amount of problems related to them.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the people who voted for all of this are more likely to agree with it occurring, as dizzyingly fast as it could ever have occurred, the change. But those people who were against it, they're really struggling. I've seen so many posts from people who have said that that's it, I'm out of here, going to Canada, or if they had the money, the means, they've gone to other countries. Like, who was it? Rosie O'Donnell went to Ireland. Good for you. She did. She's lost a lot of weight, I'll tell you. I couldn't barely recognise her, but from her main characters from the 80s and 90s, right? So I was astounded that someone would be willing enough to go that far to stay outside of the ramifications of these changes. Because you're right, global trade, big problems. We'll all shuffle and work each other out, I suppose.
Yeah.
Finding our own level. How this affects the global balance of power, the BOP, that's another big concern. How that shift may occur if the US is trying to stay out of everything. But I'm not seeing examples. I mean, those Houthis, I'm seeing the America pull out.
See, that's what I mean.
World
right?
police,
it's
right?
Like it's a schizophrenic kind of approach. Yes, we want nothing to do with it, but we still want to be global corp, right?
When do we get the guns? Not until you've told me your first name.
That's yeah, that's right. And that's where we are, right? And but yeah, you can see it as well. I mean, there's this need, I guess, for the Americans to still play a role globally, or for Donald Trump at least. I want to be relevant, I'm sure he says in his mind, right? But is he? And the thing is,
that's right.
See, look,
who's measuring?
You know, the truth is, America still has the strongest military in the world, and strength in this case comes through technology. It's the most technologically advanced, right? And it's really interesting. And in fact, there's another point I need to make on this. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but that's costing a lot of money. You want to save money in America? You want to give tax cuts to your billionaire buddies? Cut military spending. But that's not going to happen, is it? Because this is the problem. No, well, see, this is once you have entrenched yourself in a position. Let's think of this like in your neighborhood. Like maybe there was like a street gang in your neighborhood, or not a street gang, but like like a couple of kids here and a couple of kids there, and they fight each other. And once they start fighting, unless there's a concerted effort to stop the fighting, it cannot stop. You have to keep on going, right? And you have to. Unless you want to be annihilated, you got to be better and stronger and faster than the other guy. So this is where we are with America. America, for the last 80 years, has built itself a huge armory, a massive military machine.
It never really stopped, did it? From
No.
World War II, yeah.
No, it kept rolling, right? It just it recycled its old stuff and sent it to the wars in Africa and South America and in the Middle East, and
taking one from the shelf and putting a new one on the shelf.
Exactly. And it's been working really well, right? Now, you can't just switch that off. You can't. So there's this massive expense that you have. And you have to justify it somehow, right? And how do you do it? You're still, still a global force. But you're a global force, and I hate to say this, not for good. You're a global force because you have no choice anymore. You have no choice. America pre-World War II was a nation that was trading, was doing quite well, apart from the Depression, right? That was a different story, though. But before that, In the 19th century, America was doing very well. In fact, very well. If you look at the wealth America accumulated since its foundation, it's actually astounding. It's a massive success story. America is a huge success story. I mean, there are ups and downs, but overall, it's massive, right? As far as, because the country is only like 70, 50, whatever years old, right?
Sure.
And it's, what America has accomplished in that time is truly astounding, right? A certain ethos, and lots of people going in, etc. Sure, that all helps, natural resources and so forth. But it's still, nonetheless, it's a massive achievement. Russia, bigger country, similar amount of people, not now, but back then at least, and didn't go anywhere near what America achieved. So, I could argue the climate is better in America, which it probably is. But now they're stuck, because let's say America disarms, Dave. America decides, you know what, I'm not going to spend half my GDP on military equipment anymore. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get rid of all my weapons. Gone, right? What do you think is going to happen? China and Russia go, oh, sweet.
They'll step straight in. That's right.
Well, see, exactly. See, this is the issue, right? And they might even invade America for all I know, right? But it's really, we have gotten to a point where even if Donald Trump wanted to disarm, but I'm not saying he wants to disarm, right? But even if he wanted to, he couldn't. No president, in fact, could do it. Not one. And the empire, I think Donald Trump wants to be the emperor of America. I really do believe that. That's what he wants, deep down inside. And that's the way he's talking. That's how his administration is talking. That's how they're, interacting with the rest of the world. He wants to be emperor of America, of the American empire. So it's the Gulf of America, then it'll be, I don't know, whatever. Africa is going to be Eastern America, and Asia is going to be Western America, or whatever.
Well, okay, so you can't pull away from the. It's like several different mobs with protectionism going on in streets of a city. As soon as you vacate, someone moves in. Now, we don't have, what was it called? What was the superheroes league? Do you remember?
The Justice League?
The Justice League. So there is no Justice League with superheroes.
Hang on, well, there isn't one? What?
with the useless Wonder Twin powers activate, form of a water fountain, right? Form of a dolphin. There isn't one of those, and there's no saving or filling the gap. There's no Superman or Batman. I'm Batman. There's none of that, right? That's going to do it. So making a void, it's just going to get filled. So to Mackie's point, I don't think it is possible. You're going to have to continue to do it. You can't slowly, shrink your security perimeter to your boundary, your edge perimeter. If you're already out there with all the ships. Remember, Mackie, you said that most of those payments that the USAID were making were either like protection, favors. The whole thing was diplomatically spent money.
Yeah.
What happens when you're not paying those things out anymore? Someone else can come in and offer an amount. Hey, look, we'll pay for your DEI or your sex changes in Guatemala.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Look at that. Look how good we are.
Yeah.
We're your friends.
Yeah. Look, and excuse me, Dave, that is exactly what is happening, right? That's exactly 100% what's happening. And, okay, right? But what I still don't understand, and sorry, no, I do, because I got a theory on this. But if I didn't have a theory, I wouldn't understand it. Why Trump so wholeheartedly embraces Russia and Putin. Not Russia, but Putin, because that's what he's doing, right? It's not Russia, it's Putin he likes. And so completely disrespects and disregards his allies. I find this to be the single most phenomenal thing in this whole affair.
Because they're all billionaires.
Well, see? There
That's
you
it.
go. There you go.
Am I a billionaire? No. I'm about $1 billion short of being
Just about.
give or take $400,000 because that's what I owe on my house. So, to be honest, that I'm not in their echelon. I'm never going to be playing golf and let them play through, and they go, "Oh, don't play through. Just come with us, play our round." Right? I didn't know what the words are, but I'm sure I got close.
No, you're pretty good. Yeah.
I'm not, because my handicap is that I attempt to play. Right? I once played one club golf because my friend had a set of golf clubs, and he goes, "Come play golf with me." And I go, "Well, I haven't." And he goes, "That'll be right. But now just choose your club at the beginning, and because there was a couple of other friends, and we'll just have a go." And I don't know. I don't know what a pitching wedge is, but it sounds great, right? In 30 meter hops isn't great. So look, this is the thing. Because we don't work in their circles, everyone else in those circles, they're all friends.
Oh yeah.
You saw the stink eye that Kamala Harris gave Trump and Obama when they were at the funeral.
Yeah.
They were sitting next to each other talking. I mean, what the hell?
Uh-huh.
Who does that? Oh yeah, that's right, because they're friends. They've both been elected twice. Look at the group that they're in. She lost. Yeah.
That's right.
So she's not even in that group. So
That's true.
look, thinking about how this would play out, of all the leaders in the world, who would be at that level?
Well,
all the members of the WEF.
Yeah, but look, there are about 2,500 billionaires or whatever the number was. Remember?
Yeah.
But you don't have to be a billionaire to be part of the Club of Rome or the WEF. I mean, you have to just be really wealthy.
That's right.
CEO, and of course,
CEO.
Yeah, that'll do. But all of these players, even the billionaires, they're just window dressing. The true power, in my opinion, lies beyond. And when I say beyond, it's completely hidden. The parasitic element we never ever see. We don't see the actual people that have the power. We don't see them. And Hitler mentioned something once, and that he was afraid of them.
Wow.
He was, I've seen him and I'm terrified of him, he said. Flatty says here that it's that America's the military muscle of the financial city of London. I don't disagree. Part of what people don't realize is just how powerful the city of London is in global affairs. I still think that Putin has the goods on Trump, and that that Musk is only there because Musk is good friends with Putin. That's why he's got the access that he has. In fact, it's almost see, the funny thing is this: the administration, all the people that Trump appointed, Hexat and Rubio, they're all completely slavishly following and sycophantically agreeing with Trump wherever he goes, right?
Yeah.
But, and this is really interesting, Elon Musk is not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost, in some instances, and in fact in quite a few instances, it seems as though Trump is completely deferring to Musk. It's actually Musk who's in charge. You get, especially during that really strange Oval Office interview when Musk was standing up with his son and Trump was sitting at the Resolute desk. It was a really strange moment. But sorry, I forgot to bring it back to what I saw. You know that Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan, right?
Yes.
Recently? Did you watch it?
Yes.
What do you think? About what? What is Mackie talking about? Joe Rogan very pointedly asked Elon Musk, what do you think about UAPs and UFOs and
Mm-hmm.
tech that we have? People say we have the tech and retro-engineered it, and Elon Musk goes, nah, there's nothing like that out there. If
That's
there
right.
were, I'd know.
That's an old response.
Not that old.
No, no,
Um,
I know. His When he first said it, he was asked by someone who was interviewing at the SpaceX center,
oh yeah, but
and that was his first response years ago. But it's the same
yeah, but
response today.
yeah, it's the same. Now, okay, so there are two things here. So one, he actually doesn't know, which means he's not read in. He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
understand anything at all that goes on, and that's probably where I'm leaning, right? Or two, he is
Or
read
he
in.
has clearance and he can't say a word.
Nah. But see, then he would, just like Elizondo and the others, he's
Mm-hmm.
completely misdirecting
That's
because
right.
he's saying things that are lies. He's lying. He's openly lying because we know these things exist. Number one,
Mm-hmm.
and number two, there's very strong evidence they're ours. Not only that, he said in the interview with Joe Rogan, there's no technology that he knows of at all, be it free energy or anti-gravity, that is even theoretically workable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually wrong in every respect. We know that the skunk works have it working, right? We know the other evidence in the statements, and we've seen the machinery, we've seen it in action. I mean, that's what the UAPs are, right? The anti-gravity devices. You can stand on your head as much as you like, but that's what they are. It's not possible without any means of propulsion and acceleration or any exhaust, anything like that, for anything to move, but it does.
Mm-hmm.
So he's lying through his teeth, or, and this is my suspicion, he
Plausible
really has no
deniability.
idea.
Yeah, that's right.
The thing is, what has he studied? What did Elon Musk study?
Right, and PayPal.
No, he bought PayPal.
I know he
Uh,
did. Yeah, yeah.
what did he study? What did Elon Musk study? And I don't know. All right, I don't know. I can't. He studied he studied physics and business at Pennsylvania University. Right, he got a bachelor's degree in physics, and then he went to Stanford and got a PhD, if that's true. But if he's saying outright that he doesn't know of anything that could work, then he's lying, right? Because if he is plugged in, then it's a blatant lie. If he's not plugged in, he's just a moron, right? So it's
Well,
really very strange.
yeah, so I think if he was read in and he can't talk about it, then he's just reading the script. That I'm not protecting him, right, from anything. I'm just thinking that we heard the other people who have been read in and can't talk about it, the prior presidents, and they've said, well, not allowed to talk about it. That's what they said, and that made everybody go, ooh, so it is real. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he has been, and I don't think he's seen anything. So maybe he just honestly doesn't know.
It's
I don't
possible.
know. But for his reasoning, though, I'm gonna be a bit pointed here. His reasoning for wanting to go to Mars by a certain date, to me, is all about a cataclysm that's going to befall us all, and that this is he's being basically funded and assisted to be able to get the people who really can afford to go to go. That's it. That's what I believe, because he always has a hard time trying to re-explain the reasoning behind it, and I think that's his focus. I truly do, but I don't know. You're looking at it with a lens that I'm not, and likewise I'm looking for things in particular to see why he's doing some actions. But I don't know. I've watched the ex CIA or FBI guy talking about body language and everything, but because he's clearly on a spectrum, it's very difficult for those to be read because he doesn't have a normal set of reactions. So it's a challenge. It really is a challenge.
Interestingly enough, he actually dropped out of Stanford University's PhD. So he actually doesn't have a PhD. He dropped out after 2 days.
Wow.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, look, again, but you don't need university to be successful. It's not necessary, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think he's as bright as everybody says. He's on the spectrum, that's for sure. But I also think he's lying to us. He's lying to us big time. As is Donald Trump. He said he would release the files. He hasn't released anything.
Right. No, that's right.
Nothing. Yeah. He hasn't released the Epstein files. He hasn't released the UFO files.
We got the flight lists, the flight logs only.
We always
huge report.
It's sort of redacted information.
Yeah, it's redacted, and then they found another 120 pages.
Yeah, but again, if it's redacted, what's the point, right? Because the key thing that you need are the names. You need the names. If you don't have the names, then, that's right.
I know. And all the people that have fled the country and gone overseas are in the flight logs. So there's some things going on that's well above what we're seeing.
Yeah.
The media's such a slim view of what's truly going on.
Yeah, look, you know how I feel about billionaires. I don't like any of them at all. And in fact, there was an interesting I can't remember who it was. There was I think an economics professor, fairly well known one too. I've watched so much it's hard to keep track, but there was an interview and he says, we've so bought into capitalism that we think it's a good idea. Capitalism is a terrible idea. It doesn't work. And in fact, how can we allow? I remember this because I've said the same thing for the last 20 years. How could we allow someone to accumulate this much wealth? I'm talking about billions now, right? How is it? I mean, because the thing is there's always there's always an opportunity cost. So for everything that you do, there's something you don't do. And for everything that you buy, there's something you don't buy. And that's the opportunity cost, right? So you do something, there's something else that doesn't get done. So if you accumulate that much wealth in a closed system, that's what we are. That means there's less for everybody else. And that's true. We're seeing this now. I mean, the vast majority of the planet is living in poverty, right? And they're impoverishing people more and more and more. 2008 was a masterstroke in distributing $1 trillion. Mm-hmm. $1 trillion. Just like that. And that's just the United States.
The poorest people.
Well, it's tax money, right?
That's right.
Don't pay it back. Don't worry about it. It's astounding.
Oh, you mean the bailout? Yeah.
The bailout, yeah, absolutely. It was an unbelievable thing, but that's only in America, the $1 trillion. That's the rest of the world to consider as well. So you cannot be, is my contention, you cannot be an ethically or morally good person.
No, that's right.
If you have accumulated that much wealth. It's not possible. It isn't. And even if you were one to start with, the accumulation of that much wealth will set you apart from the rest of the world. That's why I try to keep telling people, Dave, and I know we've had the conversation many times. Mm-hmm. If you're born into power, and let's say like you're part of a royal line, like whatever it might be, right?
Sorry, I've got Prince Andrew in my head right now.
That's right. But you're brought up in a very different way to everybody else, right? Because, well, essentially, you are you are brought up to wield power. That's your job, right? And if you are brought up that way, then there's no way that you could ever relate to people in a non-threatening or non.
That's right.
You have to be completely. What I'm saying is unemotive. You don't care about people at all, and that's the only way. Only with that mindset can you send people to war. Only with that mindset can you make a power grab. Because think about this for a second. Why do we fight? Why do we go out and kill and conquer? I mean, we look at this history. We talk about these great people. Alexander. These are mass murderers. Alexander the Great was a mass murderer. Okay, Julius Caesar, mass murderer. Napoleon, mass murderer. All of these people that we think, oh, what amazing. They're not amazing people at all. They're the greatest killers that we have produced. Remember, Genghis Khan, the same, Attila the Hun, whatever. Go on and on and on. They are the worst of the worst as far as human beings are concerned. But we revere them. We think, oh no, they're great. What? No, they're fantastic. They're exactly who we should emulate. We should be like them. No, we should not be like them. Because they're horrible, horrible human beings. But nonetheless, there we are, right? And it's the same with the others. I mean, if you're brought up into power, you can't think like a normal person. Impossible. You can't do it. Right? And that's the problem that we're having. We're admiring all the wrong people. Dave.
Guess what? There's the music. Yeah, totally.
Right.
This has been Plato's Cave.
That's right.
We'll see you on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. and again on Sunday for Shiny Side Out. But in the meantime, Nicky,
just be safe, everybody. And donate if you can.